Do you find yourself stuck in a tangled web of managing software? You're not alone. For many businesses, tracking licenses, managing usage, and staying compliant is harder than ever. CAD deployments too can be time-consuming, complicated to install, and a challenge to configure. That's where Symetri comes in. Symetri helps you take back control while also reducing cost with two powerful tools, CQFlexMon and CQI. From license monitoring to CAD deployments, Symetri simplifies and optimizes your entire software management process on a local and global scale. CQFlexMon allows you to monitor, track, and control your software licenses, giving you end-to-end ownership of your entire license portfolio, removing unnecessary complications and allowing your IT teams to prioritize other work. That's why organizations within the architectural, engineering, construction and manufacturing industries already rely on CQFlexMon to handle their software management. It puts you back in control of your own software portfolio, boosting your productivity, strengthening your compliance, and crucially, cutting costs. With no more unused seats. One powerful tool giving you control of all executable files, including Autodesk, Bluebeam, SolidWorks, Adobe, Tekla, Rhino, Microsoft, and more. So where does CQI come in? CQI is a solution that simplifies how CAD software is rolled out, updated, and managed across your organization. If you're handling deployments at scale, you already know how complicated and time-consuming they can be. CQI takes the pain away from the outset, replacing fragmented, manual processes with a smart, centralized solution, faster installs, reduced downtime, and minimized errors. And if all that wasn't enough, CQI can also roll out other software, including add-ins. CQI ensures updates and hotfixes are delivered smoothly, without disruption, meaning your IT team stays online and available where they're needed most. Together, CQFlexMon and CQI provide a complete solution to efficiently monitor and manage your software portfolio, saving time, money, and reducing risk. Ready to take back control of your software portfolio? Reach out and get started with CQFlexMon and CQI. Contact Symetri today to find out more.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Mastering Software Monitoring and Deployment. We appreciate you taking the time to join us today. We know a few attendees may still be connecting, so we'll begin with some housekeeping. We'll also review the agenda, introduce our presenters, and this will give everyone a moment to settle in. I just want to draw your attention to our chat function in the webinar today, so we invite you to use this throughout the webinar. Ask all the questions that come to mind, but also remember the chat function is private as well, so you'll be connected to one of our CQ specialists. And if some of your questions are really interesting, we'll address them at the end in our Q&A. So, on to our next slide. So, I just want to use this slide as an opportunity to show everyone here on the call today that as a trusted partner for so many architects, engineers, designers, and manufacturers, just to name a few, we have been developing our own Symetri technology to support your business and help you to work smarter. Our focus today is on CQ, and our message with CQ is very simple. You can't manage what you can't see. So whether you are tracking software licenses or deploying CAD configurations, true visibility is essential for effective management and also continuous improvement. And this is where the CQ suite comes in. And our experts will demonstrate throughout the webinar how CQFlexMon and CQI are innovative solutions built by Symetri to give you the clarity and control you need in your software environment. Now, I wanted to include this slide here today about our purpose. Okay, so our mission is to ensure that people work smarter and more sustainably for a better future. And this is also the purpose of today's webinar. We are here to help you discover how better visibility control over your software environment through tools like CQI and CQFlexMon that you'll learn about today can enable your teams to work smarter, more efficiently, reduce waste, and create more lasting value in your projects and business. So before we get started, I'm just going to go quickly through our agenda for today. I'm sure you can all see the screen, but we'll be talking about why license monitoring. We'll be then looking at what to track and why, and then monitoring with CQFlexMon. We'll then move on to CQI, and that'll focus more on deployment. We'll look at then how the two softwares can work hand in hand to improve your service and your business. And then finally, we'll be looking at the customer stories. So just our presenters. So we are very pleased to have our CQI specialists presenting today. They bring deep experience from working with companies just like yours, tackling the day-to-day challenges of software management, license monitoring, and CAD deployment. Their insights will give you practical knowledge, and you can apply them right away, helping you to be more confident in your decisions and in your business outcomes. So thank you again for joining us today. Let's begin. I'm delighted now to pass you on to Jeremy Vesey, who will take you through the major challenges that the company faces today. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Stephen. Welcome, everyone. So, yes, like Stephen mentioned, we're going to talk about CQFlexMon and CQI. So these are two of the major challenges that companies face. So tracking and optimizing your software license usage, very critical to do. We want to make sure that your licenses are being fully utilized. Any unused licenses can potentially be removed from your subscription. Also deploying and software, if you've got a lot of software to be deployed, can be very, very challenging. So that's why CQFlexMon and CQI really come hand in hand. And when these two challenges aren't really met, you end up overspending the companies. They become very, very inefficient and potentially non-compliant also. So we're going to start to look at CQFlexMon and CQI. First of all, we're going to take a look at CQFlexMon and what it can offer, what it can collect, the data, how that gets collected, and then also how we can help our customers with the analysis as well. So some of the modules that we use within CQFlexMon, License Monitor, this is where we're sort of monitoring license servers. So a lot of vendors over the years have had license servers like FlexLM, Sentinel HASP, CodeMeter, etc. Like an on-premise license server, CQFlexMon polls those license servers to collect the data, and then we can see that data. License usage, again, is regarding license servers, license managers, but it's more who's using that software for how long. And I'll show you some of the reporting that we do for that. Manage Autodesk is obviously a key thing for Symetri and a lot of our customers. And we can monitor those named user licenses plus the Flex token model. So it's very critical to get that right. If you've got named user licenses as well as Flex tokens, very critical to monitor those. Application usage is where we can monitor any executable file. Okay, so if we can monitor a license server, that's great. We would want to do that. If we can pull data down from a portal for usage and use that, we can do that. If we can't, we can monitor an executable file, which will then give us a very, very vast array of data. And we'll show you some of that as well. Also Autodesk SAM. Okay, so we will identify Autodesk installations, serial numbers, and license types. So that can be quite critical, touching on the compliancy aspect of CQFlexMon, of where we can help our customers carry on and be, make sure that they're compliant as possible. License Monitor. So as you can see, this is where we're polling a license server. So some of our vendors are using still FlexNet, FlexLM. Some of you on the call would have had Autodesk licenses using a network license manager called FlexLM. This just shows this picture. So we can actually see where there's that license line at the very top. That's how many licenses we've got available. And then we can start to see those peaks. So if that license that was available was a lot higher with a lot of air in between the actual peaks and the license, that's where we can start to see whether we've got the right amount of licenses, the wrong. If we're constantly hitting peaks, we potentially might need to purchase more licenses. So that's just a very, very quick, easy visual picture of how we can actually show that particular data when we're monitoring a license server. This shows it in a slightly different view. So this shows it as a heat map, which is quite nice because we can actually see the utilization of those licenses throughout the day, throughout the hour, throughout the week. And as you can see in some situations on a Saturday, we've still got 9% of our licenses in use, at 7 o'clock in the evening. Now that could be correct, but it could be incorrect. And if you're using a FlexLM server, there are additional things that we can put in place, like something called an options file, where we can actually help manage those licenses. We do get instances where people do come in to consume licenses and borrow licenses, okay, for a long period of time, which is great for that individual user. but actually it does reduce the license count, so we can actually help and put things into place. But the key thing there is, let's monitor the server, let's monitor the licenses, get the data, then we can start to analyze that data that we can see. License usage. So this is another view. So this is what in the CQFlexMon report client of how we can actually see how many people, who's actually using it. And you can see that we've got display names, we've got departments, we've got company information. So we do talk to Active Directory servers to receive a list of departments, companies, cities, and then actually we can break those reports down. So once we've got that data, combining it with the Active Directory data, we generate an awful lot of information, and that can actually be then targeted to different teams, different departments. If companies cross-charge or recharge those licenses back to certain divisions, certain departments, we can actually create reports and actually send that data straight through without any people actually doing anything on the system. They can be automatically generated to be sent. Another one, so again, similar information, but it's just available to slice this information up. So we can take this into Excel. So our default sort of templates that we supply with CQFlexMon are Excel-based templates. A lot of data ends up in Excel, so we've chosen Excel to be that engine. And once the data's in there, obviously a lot of customers can manipulate these reports, this data, to however they want to do. We can take in customers' templates also and add those in. So manage Autodesk. So previously, a lot of our users would have had a FlexLM server with network licenses. They've obviously gone to a named user model. You have to assign those named user licenses to people, and then we want to monitor those. So this is the view that we can see through CQFlexMon. So we can see an AEC collection license there highlighted in red, where we've got 42 at the top and 29. That just shows that we've got 42 licenses available in the platform, in the Autodesk portal. 29 licenses have been assigned. We can then see the utilization and usage of those licenses, and we can see that people at the bottom have not used those licenses. Now, this could be a month's view, 2 months view, or 3 months view. So again, we don't want to take licenses off of people that are using them, but actually we shouldn't be able to, can't really afford to keep these licenses in the portal if we're not using them. What we also show is how many times they've used those licenses across that period. And also the AEC token column is if you're on a flex token model, which is an alternative method to named user licenses for Autodesk. We can actually see how many tokens they would have consumed had they been on that flex token model. The whole point really of this is to try and make sure that they are on the right license type. Should they be on a subscription license where they can use it all of the time, or should they be on flex tokens, because the flex tokens could well be a better cost option throughout the year. What this one will do is actually show us those flex tokens. So if you are on a flex token model, where again, we'll see how many times they've used it. And if you're on a flex token model, it's not critical that they're not using it, because you're not consuming any tokens at a cost. But if you are on a flex token model, we want to see really the lighter usage of those people. Okay, we don't want to see heavy utilization of the Autodesk software on flex tokens, because it would potentially be more costly than a named user subscription license in the year. So again, the whole point is collecting that information from whatever means we can, and publishing it, put it into a system so that we can actually show that particular software. So those two reports or screenshots were really from the CQFlexMon report client. And this is where we've taken that data into one of our default Excel templates. And it's not about us just supplying data. We do try and recommend things as well. Okay, so you can see here that top user, Laura, they've been consuming tokens. Okay, and what we've done is we've sort of made a calculation of how many tokens that they've used in a month period or 2 month period. And we've calculated that as a yearly cost. So what we want to try and get to and help our customers with is making sure that that cost is less than an AEC collection. And as you can see, we're sort of making a recommendation there that we recommend that we change Laura's assignment to an AEC collection. We've noticed that Laura is using AutoCAD and Revit and 3D Studio Max, for example. And if Laura carries on at the same rate of usage for a year, it will be more than an AEC license. And we can see a visual picture there of a heat map at the bottom. So you can see where tokens are being used, who's using those tokens. So again, very, very visual picture of a heat map, but actually information of what we recommend that the customers do for those particular licenses. Another report is where we sort of put it into a cost. Okay, so we can see that the cost of Laura, if she carries on at that rate, would potentially be £3,250 or euros or dollars, whatever we actually convert that to. That could be more costly than an AEC collection or an AutoCAD license, for instance. So that just gives you an example of how we do a calculation once we've got the data. But it's all about collecting that data first, analyzing it, and then we can obviously start to make those recommendations for customers. This one is the flip side of that. So what we're going to do here is also, because Autodesk do a named user model and a flex token model, we can find out those low consumers or no consumers of the AEC licenses. So this is where we can start to say, well, you've got people that are on an AEC collection that aren't using your license, or they're not using it a great deal. And as you can see, Emma at the bottom, she's got an AEC collection license assigned at the moment, but actually the usage, it's better off to put that user onto flex tokens, okay? Because the yearly cost, if they carry on at that same rate, would be 410. Okay, so that's way a lot less than an AEC collection license. So that's why we want to try and give customers some information, but also make some recommendations for that as well. So a quick question here is, which Autodesk product has the highest token value? And it is actually NetFab Local Simulator. And it's actually 205 tokens for every 24 hours. Okay, so that's a massive amount of tokens. So each token could cost £2.50 or £3, €3, around that cost. So if you think of it, that's a very expensive piece of software. We don't want to get that wrong. We want to make sure they're on a named user model. But obviously that particular piece of software is very expensive for a yearly cost. So it could be better to put them onto flex tokens. But obviously that just shows it's critical that we monitor those flex tokens and make sure the people are on the right particular model. So we're going to come across to application usage. So license monitor and license usage is where we poll license servers. Manage Autodesk is where we look at the named users and the flex tokens. If we can't do that, we will monitor software via executables. And we generate a great deal of information in here because we know when the executable file has started and stopped. And as you can see here, we've got quite a lot of software. We've got Bluebeam, MicroStation, Adobe, SketchUp. So anything that gets installed on a Windows desktop, we can actually monitor. So it's an executable file. We generate the start times, the end times, and obviously that then gives us the usage figures. So this is one of the, just a graphic that we see. And what this was sort of coming from customers asking us, we've got this data, what do we do with it? Okay, so Adobe, there's different license models for different software, and it could be that if you use 3 pieces of Adobe software, you're beneficial to go to a particular suite or a collection license. If you only use one particular piece of software, it could be better that you just go to that particular point product. So this was just a count of applications through this reporting period, how many times people have opened up 4 applications or 3 applications or 2 applications. Now, on that particular thing, we would only target Adobe software, but it's just a highlight that we can monitor any particular executable file there. This one, again, just general statistics. You'll see different tabs at the bottom. This is one Excel template that we use, which is a lot of statistical data. And this one is just average number of hours per usage and application. So gives you a good idea of how these software applications are opened, how long they've been used, etc. So just very useful statistical information there. This one's quite key. This gives us a good idea. So, a lot of vendors don't give us that usage information of where we can react and target and optimize our subscriptions as much as possible. So by collecting this data, and this was monitoring executable files, we can see that we've seen 132 unique users of InDesign. Okay, so that gives us a good idea. If you had 150 or 200 licenses of InDesign, You are, and you're constantly seeing 132 around about that number every month of unique users. That's probably around about the number of licenses that you require. Okay, so that's really good of how we can just literally see those unique users. Doesn't matter what PC they're on, they might be jumping to different PCs because obviously we pick up that usage from a user perspective. These are the amount of unique users that we can see using that particular piece of software. We also show in a heat map. Heat map's a nice way of just visually showing data. So these particular charts here will show you how many people, or sorry, how many pieces of software people have actually used. Okay, so 4 pieces of software on that day, up to 5. They're obviously a heavy user of Adobe software. Then we can actually see what pieces of software they've actually used on the right-hand side, and also how many hours they've used it. Okay. You can see that there's 24, 24, 24. So that means they're either working a lot all of the time, but more than likely they're leaving that particular piece of software open. But more importantly, they're leaving their device open. They're not restarting or shutting down that software. It's not releasing licenses, but also they're not potentially getting AV updates or security updates. So this is quite critical for IT teams. Just have a look at this data as well. Work out actually are people restarting their particular devices. So we also look at, this is a Power BI template. Okay, so we focused on Excel, but we are sort of adding on some Power BI templates also. So we'll be just sort of replicating some of the usage data into Power BI. A lot of our customers already use Power BI, so there is a way. It's an SQL database that CQFlexMon works on, so we can export, analyze data to a secondary SQL database, and people can utilize that with Power BI or their chosen reporting tool to generate some information. But obviously we realize that some customers haven't got any Power BI expertise, so we're going to start to move some of the reports into Power BI. Excel will always be there because a lot of customers know Excel, got experts in Excel, and they can take that data and do that. So it's just an addition into CQFlexMon of what we want to do there. This is another one. So again, just another reporting tool just to sort of break it down. Obviously, you can change the sliders. You could drop the family application names, company, search, total hours of sum. So again, just giving those statistical information by department or company if they do that. Another heat map one, okay, density of the week, density of the hour. So when are people using this software? Is it they use it all in the morning, afternoons, during the day? We could start to look at different hot desk PCs, etc. So just different types of information, and just makes it a little bit more easier to slice when it's in Power BI. I think we're going to a poll now. So hopefully the poll will pop up and you will see that you can, which design software does your business currently use? Okay, so there's multiple choice. You can pick as many as you want. And it's just handy to know what software. Obviously, a lot of our organizations do use very similar software. Over the years, we've built up a big database of software that we can actually use. So just pick some of those answers, and what we do is we might have a little look at those results a little bit later. So we'll have a look at some vendors and license managers that we use. So within CQFlexMon, these are a lot of the vendors that we use, but not, only those particular vendors. Okay, so there's the common ones there that are in purple. And, you're going to recognize a lot of those. A lot of these are sort of AECs and MFG customers software that people use. So these are ones that commonly we see when we are monitoring software within CQFlexMon. These are a lot of the license managers. So like I touched on, Autodesk used to use FlexNet. And CodeMeter, we use CodeMeter, RLM, Sentinel, HASP, RNS. So there's quite a lot of license servers out there still that vendors do use. CQFlexMon was created to monitor these particular license servers. So we've got a lot of knowledge of all of these different license managers, and it's all about collecting that data, analyzing that data to try and save that customer money, get that license portfolio exactly correctly for their particular needs. So we'll touch on IT architecture now. So CQFlexMon would sit on a server. Okay, it uses IIS to receive information in. and it uses an SQL server. Okay, so we do poll those monitored license servers. We receive information from monitoring executable files from people's homes if they connect in via a VPN. Also from the office, there's a report client, so you can use and look at the data using a CQFlexMon report client. You can generate that information, send it to Excel. And obviously, so this is just a guide of how it works. We can split the CQFlexMon server and the databases. So a lot of our larger customers may have CQFlexMon and already have an SQL database that we will put our databases onto. In Europe, we have got a CQFlexMon cloud database as well. Okay, so customers that are reducing their infrastructure, they might not have any more servers. They might be putting their data into SharePoint and all sorts of other different things, cloud repositories. We have a cloud server. Okay, so we can provide an agent that monitors the executable file. We may still need a remote server in your organization to monitor any license servers, but it just gives us another option. Okay, so it just gives us another option for our customers. If they haven't got that particular infrastructure, we can help them still with CQFlexMon. So we'll briefly go over some of the optimization analysis work that we do. Okay, so why is it important? Okay, so we do provide an optimization service, but that is purely for Autodesk. We want to save customers the license cost, and you can see there that we have seen up to 60% savings on renewal. It's where people are buying licenses, but not got control, just not got control of those licenses and the usage. So then it just gives us more accurate budgeting and forecasts, and you make sure that people are on that right license model. Should they be on a license? Should they be on flex tokens? Okay, so you can then take advantage of that hybrid license with the flex tokens. And also, if you've got those, a lot of customers, a lot of teams, a lot of companies will basically, they might acquire different companies, and then you've got even more of a problem of utilizing those licenses. So we can actually consolidate those licenses. Once we've got that overall picture of usage, we can really help the customers make sure that they're on the right licenses. And as we see, this is like a high flex token consumers. Okay, so when my colleague who's on the call today on the webinar, Nicholas, he does an analysis work for a lot of our customers, and he breaks it down into very, very granular detail of what people are using, what product they're using, and how many flex tokens they would have consumed. And that gives you a really, really good idea of how many tokens that they would have consumed, or would have consumed and also carry on consuming, like I mentioned. But also the low token consumers. Okay, so these are the people that should always be on flex. What you then find is you've got these middle people. Okay, there's always that cutoff point of these people. You're always going to get heavy consumers of AEC licenses or PDMC licenses, and also these very, very light consumers, project managers, project directors, etc., that will be on flex. You're going to get these people in the middle, okay, that are just on the cusp of that particular license model. But we will highlight that, and obviously we will make recommendations based on what we think is the correct thing to do. This is almost like an example of this is what it would be, this is what it would cost if you was to just redo all of your licenses as is. Okay, so you just renew all of your licenses without any optimization. Could be very, very costly. Actually, with some optimization work, we can potentially drop some licenses, but we can top those low consumers up by flex tokens. Okay, and you can see on this particular analysis, there was a very, very significant reduction in cost associated with that. So that's where it really helps to show and highlight that, people might just renew those licenses. If you get that data, get that analysis work done, we can really start to see that. And then touch on Autodesk compliance. Why is it important to have control? Okay, so we need to follow those license agreements. We need to reduce the risk and then obviously have no surprises with that. Okay, so companies, vendors do audits, and we want to make sure that everything is as much as possible to complying with those particular license rules. So the Autodesk SAM module that CQFlexMon has, we can see the Autodesk software that's installed on a device. We can see the serial number. We can see the deployment type. We can see the license server pointer as well. Okay, so if it was talking to a license server, we can see that. So this picture we can see that we've got some education software and potentially some cracked software here. Okay, so we will detect that and obviously make recommendations. We can obviously see there's network license software there as well. So that's quite key. If you don't own any network license software anymore because you've moved to an end user model, you're not legally allowed to have network license software installed into your organization. So we want to pick that up. And the SAM module sort of ties in quite nicely with CQI. So we'll start to look at some of the CQI stuff. Okay, so CQI. We really do start to empower efficient, compliant, and consistent CAD deployments. Okay, so that's the reason why CQI was created. So we've got those strategically curated packages. Okay, that layer of information. So we create and tailor these CAD applications to the customer's needs. Okay, so we supply these packages to our customers, which is a massive benefit for organizations to really help and cut down on time and cost associated with actually creating and maintaining those packages. So creating deployments can take considerable time, obviously in the update frequency, and making sure that the updates are pushed out at the right time, but more importantly, just getting that complete level of all of the applications, all of the updates consistent throughout your organization, wherever they are, global, office location. And we help our CQI packages can be used in a variety of methods, which I'll touch on shortly. But, you know, it's not a replacement for a technology like SCCM or Intune or PDQ. We obviously work hand in hand with those. Okay, so it doesn't replace those technologies, but you can use our CQI packages with those particular tools to actually get those to be pushed out. Okay, so we'll touch on those in a moment. We've got another poll coming up, I believe. And what is your current deployment method? Okay, so you can see there that there's sort of SCCM, Intune, PDQ, or other. So just interesting to see what current methods customers are currently using. You know, I know quite a few of our customers use PDQ. Larger customers might be using SCCM, and customers might be using Intune. But Datto's quite a nice platform. Ninja One, Endpoint Central, they're all very similar RMM platforms. So yeah, it should be interesting to see what type of platform people are using. So the CQI benefits. Okay, so consistency. All right, so CQI enables those consistent software deployment and configuration across all your devices. Okay, so what we do is we supply these packages to our customer, and they would normally sit on a file share, a server share, and then you trigger those installs throughout those deployment technologies. So a lot of the time is done. We've done those packaging. We've got the know-how, okay, of creating those packages and those security updates. Every time a security update or a hotfix comes out for Autodesk software, for instance, we will create a CQI package. We will supply that to our CQI customers, and they will push that out. Okay, therefore you've got that level playing field across your whole organization of keeping those security updates done in a timely manner. It's very critical now, obviously, with a lot of cybersecurity issues, that we get these security packs and hot fixes out to these particular devices as quick as possible. As soon as these packages come out, we create a CQI package, we supply them to our customers, and then they can obviously push those out. That then maintains the compliance as well with the internal policies and configurations. So an example there is Revit. You know, a lot of our customers will create a Revit.ini file where you will customize your template location. Okay. Time can be spent creating the packages and pushing these packages out. And then there can be some other time, obviously, afterwards. Once that package has been deployed to the end user devices, that's not really where it stops. It could be that people have to go on to that particular device and copy that Revit.ini file across, or modify AutoCAD, modify a template location, add an AutoCAD profile, different menu structures, different Lisp files. We can take control of that all with CQI. So there is no real downtime for that particular user. Okay, so once we've got that streamlined deployment pushed out and the maintenance schedule, it just works. Every single package comes out, gets pushed out. It's consistent. It's a uniform platform across the whole organization. If you have different issues with Desktop Connector, for instance, Revit work sharing, you've got a lot of people that are using Desktop Connector on different projects. If they're on different versions, it can cause real problems with your projects. So that's where we've seen different people pushing out different versions of Desktop Connector, and hopefully they're obviously going to get pushed out successfully. If they don't, it can cause projects to stop, and obviously that's going to cause downtime, which is then going to cause costs. Okay, you want to get the people that are using and doing these drawings and Revit models working all of the time as much. Obviously, you want to get that invoice out to those particular customers. So we've got a faster approach. Okay, so reduce the installation time. Like I've mentioned, these applications can be very large. Okay, so one of the big benefits of CQI is actually we strip these packages down and make them a lot smaller in quality assured packages. So, you know, an AutoCAD deployment and a Revit deployment, there will be a lot of the same data in these particular deployments. Okay, you'll have a lot of prerequisites already built into every single one of these. We strip that data out. Okay, we strip out the prerequisites, the .NET C++s and any particular prerequisite that people need. We strip those out into separate files, and we only install what's actually required. We know if we're pushing out AutoCAD or Revit, we know what particular prerequisites are needed on that particular device. We will run a scan, we will check, and we will only install the prerequisites if we need to. Okay, so that does reduce the installation time considerably. It really does reduce the IT workload. Okay, so we supply those packages. It can take an awful long time for IT teams, especially if they've not got the knowledge of Autodesk applications. It's not just like a small application. It can be very complicated to create these packages, test these packages, and maintain these packages, whereas actually we've got the know-how, we've got the knowledge, so we can really help reduce the IT workload. The IT team can then obviously carry on and doing anything they want to do, but actually it's a big weight off their mind that we can actually just produce these packages, put them onto the file server, share, show them what to do, how to actually deploy that particular software, and obviously that really helps the IT teams. The custom configurations, that's quite key. So a lot of our customers, larger customers, will have different menus, different structures. You know, they may have a default menu that needs to be applied to AutoCAD in every single office around the world. So the CQI package, we can inject that. So we use the same package for AutoCAD throughout the whole company, but actually we just overlay that particular menu structure or that particular department data. We want to make sure that we've got the right printers associated for that office, and we want to make sure we've got the right menu structure. The projects, all of the user department needs can be added into CQI, and I just overlaid as a separate particular package. Okay. And scalability, that's really where it helps. Okay, so it can be a very small company that uses CQI packages. It can be a very large company. Okay, because we're using the same package, it doesn't matter if you've got 5 users or 5,000 users. We'll use the same package, and it scales effortlessly within your organization. Okay, so it really does help and just get that uniform platform across the whole of the organization. So remote support, obviously we offer remote support. So again, you know, the CAD manager or BIM manager can contact us and we can do it. There doesn't necessarily need to be on-site IT intervention there. Okay, so we can do a lot of remote support with our CQI packages. We've got comprehensive logging, okay, in the diagnostic tools. So we do an awful lot of logging that we do for our CQI packages, you know, so we can really see what's going on. If there are any issues, we can easily identify those issues and come back to you with a resolution. And it's not all about Autodesk software. It can be those other third-party softwares. Okay, so we use Naviate, it's our own technology. Sevilla, again, our own technology. They're CQI packages, but we do package up SketchUp, we do package up Bluebeam, we do package up DI Roots, PyRevit, loads of different add-ons that our customers want. We can actually add on, which then really benefits the customer because they're using one particular platform, our CQI packages, and their particular remote tool to push these applications out. It just works hand in hand with that. One of the things that does often get forgotten about is uninstalling old versions. Okay, so that's really where it does maintain that compliancy aspect. So it's quite critical that certain vendors will, if you've upgraded your software, you need to remove that old software. So there's a way that within CQI we can offer that solution to install an application, but actually uninstall the previous version. Okay, so as we're installing CQI packages, we can uninstall older installations and software packages. The reason for that is every time we install those packages, we're uninstalling the old ones. It just keeps it compliant. So you're not having to think about, let's install this, 2 weeks down the line, let's uninstall this, forget about that. And obviously there's a big buildup of old applications that are still there. Okay, so that's what we do that for. So our goal is to make a turnkey installation. Okay, should be fully installed and fully configured, ready to use. Okay, if any of you have used the Autodesk software, Autodesk deployments, once you install a piece of software as an admin, you will still have to have something done when the user logs on. It will run something called a secondary installer. Okay, that can be quite time consuming. What it does is it collects all the files and places it into the user's profile and the registry. We do that automatically within CQI. So ideally, a workstation would be left on overnight. We push that application out. When the user comes in the morning and actually logs onto that device, they'll see their new software icon, Revit, for instance, or AutoCAD. They'll double click that icon. It's ready to use. Okay, there's no issues with configuration. It's had the Revit.ini file pushed out. It's had the menu deployed. It's had the actual screen configured with the right options, the right menu, the right templates, etc. So that's a real big goal, because if you've got a lot of users that have to have that done after the install, that's a considerable amount of time that you've got to potentially jump onto each device and configure it. So we've got an awful lot of knowledge of issues, and just a recent issue that happened was where we've seen Microsoft push out an update that had a big issue with AutoCAD and some Autodesk applications where users were getting prompted for admin credentials. Okay, so if there's something happens to their AutoCAD profile or a new user logs onto a device, IT were having to actually jump onto these devices, remote on, and actually type in admin credentials. Okay, because the Microsoft update done that. So we reacted to that for our CQI customers. We found a resolution to that, and actually we could push that out via CQI SCCM Intune, however we want to do that chosen method. So it's just a real good example of how something occurred. Our CQI customers come to us, we found an issue, resolved that issue very quickly. And also sometimes there's no need to involve IT with these. Okay, so the IT, the CAD manager, can provide and install software. Okay, you do not need admin rights to use our CQI packages. Admin rights can be embedded into our CQI wizard. Therefore, customers, end users can actually install this software. Okay, so CAD managers can promote updates. They can promote installations. So actually the user will get prompted, and I'll show you a screen grab in a moment of what to expect of how that works. And so you don't necessarily need our IT teams to be spending an awful long time. Once we work with a CAD manager or a BIM manager, that can really help as well. And customer needs really have driven CQI. Okay, so we always listen to our customers. What happens? So this is why CQI has evolved to where it is today, because it's just literally all of those customer needs of what we've actually want to do. And like I said, deployment solutions can be very complicated. Okay, so it can be very complicated to create and even maintain these particular applications. Right, can take the IT teams a long time to create, test, and can be very time consuming to do this. So we take that off the hands. Okay, we're supplying quality assured packages that Symetri have created with our knowledge all in these packages. Okay, so that's a real massive benefit of CQI packages. Touched on software can have a vast array of dependencies. Okay, so we identify what prerequisites are needed. We don't just install all of the prerequisites, which take an awful long time and can have an issue with other applications. We only put on the applications or the prerequisites that we actually need. Very, very straightforward for us to create a group of applications or third-party plugins to be deployed or updated. Okay, so that's one a big benefit of CQI, where we can tag different applications on, and I'll show you on the next screen of what we mean. So this gives you an example of a CQI user interface. What this does is this can be configured to whatever packages we want, and you can see there that we've created an architects group. If I was to select that architects group, it would install, and click on install, it would install all of those applications in one go. Okay, engineers would do the same thing as well. Okay, so that just shows you how we can install, create. This particular structure can be created and modified however the customer wants it. You could tick an individual application. You can do absolutely whatever you want with this CQI interface. Okay, so this CQI interface can be used, like I mentioned, from users. Our end users can actually click on this particular interface and install those applications themselves. It doesn't need user IT interaction, like I've mentioned, because they don't need admin rights. Okay, so some customers do have the ability to the end users to run up our CQI user interface and install these applications. Some IT teams prefer to push these applications out overnight, for instance. Okay, so really does depend, but there's both options there. So if the IT team do actually want to push these packages out, this explains how they can do that. So although those deployment methods that we touched on, Datto, SCCM, Intune, PDQ, they're a way of obviously getting software packages to an end user device. Now, as you can see, the top command there, if we was to supply this top command to an IT team and they was to put this into PDQ, they can, with this one particular command, they can install all of those applications on the left-hand side underneath architects. Okay, and like I said, that menu can be customized however you want it to be customized, with as little or as many applications as you want. Third-party plugins, we can see Bluebeam's in there, we can see Navigate's in there, so we can really see how that structure can work. We can then run an uninstall command. Okay, so we can uninstall all of those applications from the engineers group with one particular command. We haven't got to wait for the AutoCAD Electrical 2025 to uninstall before we can do the next one, and the architects one as well. Okay, so we can update that particular group as well. This is the CQI updater. Okay, so like I touched on, you don't need the IT team. If we do use the CQI updater, we can prompt, so this will get prompted. The CQI updater will work very like a Windows update box. It will highlight when there's a new installation, service pack, hotfix, or a change to the configuration. The end user can select that particular option and they can install the application or the update or the new template or something like that. That's where the CAD manager or the BIM manager can actually help with that and actually control that, rather than giving it to the IT team to do. And like I touched on, we've got the setup data here at the bottom. That is the standard AutoCAD package or Revit package. And then we've got the different layers of the corporate data, the department data. Okay, we want to get the right department data, have their printers. We want to get their CAD data. Everyone has to have a corporate menu. We can apply that to everything. Then we can start to overlay the department data. But fundamentally, across the whole of the organization, the setup data will be the same package. These are some of the packages or some of the vendors that we use for CQI. So Autodesk, Bluebeam, our software. But, it's basically, if an application can be installed silently, there's no reason why we can't create an easily deployable small CQI package for your organization. Okay. Then we'll just touch on some of the tools. Okay. So self-service, like I mentioned, customers can have the end users pick that particular menu. We can uninstall those non-compliant versions. Application cleanup, where we can do a full Autodesk uninstall of applications from 2022 backwards. So that can really help with actually clearing off old PCs. Version updates, update the current versions from 2022 to 2025 or 2026 as it's come out. And license redirection, we've got some tools for CQI where we can actually switch between network licenses as Autodesk move from a network license model across to a single license model. We can actually use CQI to redirect those. So we'll do another poll, and this one is really how much time does your organization spend on deployment? So like I touched on, you may not know this if it's IT teams. Hopefully we've got some IT people on the call, and they can obviously provide a bit of an idea of that. So CQI architecture, okay, so just a brief description of how it works. So what we would normally do is we would normally have access to a test chair. We would normally have access to a test PC. And what we do is we supply the packages and test them in this environment. Our IT team or the IT team of the customer may well then move that to a production share, use Software Center, PDQ, Intune to push those applications out to every single person. That's just an idea. Some customers don't have a test share and a production share. We can do everything in there. Ideally, we require like a test PC and some sort of access to it so that we can test and take that pain away from the IT team. There is also going to be a cloud repository. Some of our customers do already use Azure, for instance, file server shares. So that's another option. Just makes it a lot more easier for customers if they don't come into the office to deploy software. That can be, as long as they've got an internet connection, they would be able to use our CQI packages in their environment. And these are really some of the challenges. Okay, so manual prereqs. So obviously we detect that. So how can CQI help? Manual application configurations. You don't have to do those manual configuration updates afterwards. Okay, we do that in those packages. We provide those dynamic configurations with the one-time support. Incorrect installations, we know the installation order, so we can really help our customers with that. So we don't want to, there are some configurations that just don't work, but actually we know that. Prevents invalid configurations, like I touched on. So, if you try and install vehicle tracking before AutoCAD, it's not going to work. We need to install AutoCAD and then vehicle tracking to bolt onto. Lack of centralized update management. Okay, so that's where we want to really help get those updates done. Redirection. So as people moved across, we redirect software. Manual and inconsistent uninstallations, we can uninstall that non-compliant software very quickly. Large footprint of installation packages, we reduce the size of our packages, and you can see there's a massive reduction in size that stores our packages on there. Okay. How do they work together? CQFlexMon. Okay, so realistically, what we want to do is start to look at CQFlexMon and CQI. Okay, so what we can do here is we can monitor these applications, and then we can help update these applications as well. Okay, so that's really where we want to monitor the software, and we can deploy the software using CQI. We can then monitor the software, we can deploy it via CQI, we can keep it updated. So that's how they both work hand in hand. We monitor what you've got on a device, usage, but also the updates, etc. And that's how CQI can really complement CQFlexMon both together. So we hand you back now to Stephen just to run through some testimonials.
Thank you, Jeremy. So before we move on to the Q&A, I just want to go through some testimonials, because we'd like to share some real experiences from our partners and how they've used CQFlexMon and CQI to benefit their businesses. These testimonials show how organizations like yours are using these solutions to meet everyday challenges in software management and also CAD deployment. The first one I want to talk about briefly is curtains. And Curtains say something quite interesting that I like. In their quote, they say, Symetri didn't just sell us a product, they solved a business problem. And this is probably the most important part of this, because this is similarly with CQFlexMon and CQI. As your partners, we're hoping that you'll use these softwares to work smarter and more sustainably. And similarly with Curtains, if you are familiar with Curtains are a leading independent engineering consultancy specializing in structural and civil engineering. They had over 400 staff across 14 different offices in the UK and Ireland. They partnered with Symetri originally to get control of their software licensing packages. So they had two problems, really. One was the license visibility across a complex IT landscape. And as you can imagine, with over 400 employees across 14 locations, Curtains faced a significant challenge with limited visibility into their software usage. So this is where CQFlexMon came into play. The licensing tool helped Curtains to gain visibility and a deeper visibility at that into their software usage to making more, I suppose, informed decisions and to streamline their Autodesk and Bluebeam portfolio. When it came to deployment as well, they had over 450 licenses across their organization, and this took time to roll out and was quite time consuming as well with follow-ups. So this is where CQI came in, and we were able to streamline the process when rolling out their new named user licenses, and this reduced time and also errors. And I want to draw your attention as well to SKB. So SKB, they have an interesting role there as Sweden's largest and most important environmental protection project. Its mission is to safely dispose of all radioactive waste from Swedish nuclear power plants. And regardless of the future of nuclear power, existing nuclear waste must be dealt with within a short and long-term perspective, and to protect people in the environment. That's SKB's mission. So they had a similar problem. They wanted to get more visibility of their licenses, and with CQFlexMon, SKB gained real-time insight into who's using the licenses and how often. And this also came in terms of old formats and new formats of software. So I think we're going to move now into the Q&A. So I invite you all also, before we move on to the Q&A, I want to draw your attention to book your own appointment. This is your opportunity, everyone, to get in touch with us. We want to hear from you, whether you're a small organization or a big organization. CQI and CQFlexMon can support your organization. Everyone is different. So I think if you scan the QR code, and I think we also have a link that's going to come up onto the screen as well, to put on stage here. So what we'll do is if you click that link, it'll take you to a form. If you fill it out, we'll be in touch, okay? And we'd really love to hear from you, because as we said, every organization, whether big or small, is different. So everyone's case is going to be new and unique.